Alright, everybody, we are going to read Ice is Everywhere. Ice is everywhere. You probably know where to go and get some ice. Indoors, you might find a refrigerator and look in the freezer. Outdoors is a different story. If it's winter and you live between Montana and Maine, along the border of Canada, ice is everywhere. Every pond, creek, and bucket of water is frozen. In the warmer parts of the country and during the summer, finding ice outdoors can be a challenge. Some places are cold all year long. Alaska, Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Scandinavia, and Siberia have ice year round. Antarctica, which covers the South Pole, is the iciest continent. In some places, more than 95% of its land lies under thick ice. In some places, the ice is 4,300 meters thick. In the winter, frozen seawater forms an ice shelf around Antarctica, doubling the continent's size. If you live in snow country, you know what to expect. Usually starting in December, heavy snow falls, covering everything under in a white blanket. During a heavy snow year, the snow may stay on the ground until March or April, then it melts. Glaciers. What if the winter snow didn't melt during the summer? In some of the colder regions around the world, more snow falls than can melt in the summer. Snow piles up and up. The layers of snow at the bottom get compressed and turn into pure ice. When the ice is about 8 meters, 8 meters thick, it begins to move. Moving ice is a glacier. Glaciers are rivers of ice that gravity pulls downhill. Scientists can keep track of how fast glaciers move. An average glacier advances less than 1 meter each day. A glacier in Greenland holds the speed record. Jacobshof? Totally not saying that correctly, I'm sorry. We're going to call it Jacobshaven. There it is. Glacier is speeding along at more than 35 meters per day. Glaciers now cover about 10% of Earth's land. They are found in all of the world's major mountain ranges. All the ice in the world store about 65% of the world's fresh water. If all that ice melted, sea level would rise about 79 meters, which is a lot. Icebergs are mountains of ice drifting like islands in the ocean. Icebergs are frozen freshwater, not salt water. Where does all the frozen freshwater come from? Icebergs come from glaciers. When a glacier moves down a valley, reaches the sea, pieces at the end break off. These chunks of ice may be as small as cars or as big as mountains. The largest iceberg ever measured was 320 kilometers long. We see only a small part of an iceberg. 7/8 is hidden beneath the water's surface. Icebergs in the North Atlantic can last up to 2 years before melting. Larger icebergs in the Antarctic may last 10 years. Someday, icebergs may be a useful source of fresh water. Ice could be harvested and melted. Whole icebergs might even be towed to countries needing fresh water. Ice history. Before refrigeration, people used ice to keep food cool. Ice was harvested from frozen lakes and rivers in winter. People waited until the ice was at least 60 centimeters thick. Then it was strong enough to hold the ice workers. Horses were used to plow a frozen lake to clear away the snow. Then the horses pulled a special tool that scratched lines in the ice. Workers cut along the lines with sharp saws. They used poles to push large sheets of ice to ice houses. There they cut the sheets into smaller blocks. Ice houses looked like barns. Inside, the ice workers carefully stacked and stored the ice blocks. They spread straw or sandust over and around each block to keep it from melting and sticking to other ice blocks. Most homes had an icebox. Throughout the year, horse-drawn trucks carried blocks of ice to homes in towns and cities. The icemen used ice tongs to handle the heavy blocks. Ice blocks could range from 11 to 22 kilograms each. The icemen then would use an ice pick to fit the block of ice inside the icebox. Children loved to see the ice truck on hot summer days. They crowded around when the iceman pushed the door open. There was sure to be a sliver of ice for each of them. What a treat on a steamy day. Why pipes burst? Pipes supply water to homes or houses, schools, and other buildings. They are made of strong materials like plastic, copper, cast iron, and steel, but sometimes pipes burst. Do you know why? Water, like all materials, contracts as it cools, but once the temperature gets down to 4 degrees Celsius, an amazing thing happens. As water continues to get colder, it starts to expand. Between 4 degrees Celsius and 0 degrees Celsius, the temperature at which water freezes, water expands. That means the ice needs more space as it changes from liquid to solid. Sorry. If liquid water completely fills a container, it will break the container when it freezes. Ice needs room to expand, or it will break the container. How can you prevent pipes from breaking in the really cold weather? If the pipes are not used during the winter, drain the water out. If that is not possible, make sure the pipes are well insulated. Pipes can be wrapped with insulation or they can be buried deep underground. Another solution is to leave the tap open just a bit. Then the expanding water can be pushed out the end of the pipe. The water might freeze in the pipe, but the pipe will not break. If the tap is closed, the water is trapped. Then something will break when the water freezes. Remember those icebergs in the northern and southern seas? Why do they float? There is a connection between floating icebergs and breaking water pipes. Do you know what that is? Why do pipes break? Because water expands as it turns to ice. The amount or mass of water doesn't change, only its volume. If the mass stays the same but the volume increases, the density of ice changes. If ice is less dense than liquid water, what will happen when you put ice in water? It floats.